Hey friends, welcome to the Tennis and Bagels podcast. This is a special edition post women's tournament. We're recording this like literally 15 minutes after Coco Gauff just hit the winning point. I watched her grab the trophy right now, and Owen's pretty happy about it. What's up, man?
Hey man, how are you?
Yeah.
Oh, that was amazing. That was so nice to see, wasn't it? Like, oh my god. We were on a Twitter space midway through the match. Did you think that was going to happen after the first set?
Oh boy, absolutely not. I mean, I just think that I thought Coco was just being overpowered, and I was like, that I don't see a way that she can get out of this. But she, I think she kind of thought about Djokovic, Medvedev, Caroline Wozniacki, and like Serena Williams and Victoria Azarenka, all these people that like can become like really good defensively as well, and just started doing that. And by the third set, she was just dictating. She was the one. It was in her hands, even though she wasn't necessarily hitting the hardest. Like you could tell that like Aryna just Sabalenka had no idea like where to hit, like what to do. Like she was lost. Like she was hitting as hard as always. She wasn't missing that much in terms of like her rally shots weren't bad, but it was just kept coming back, and like at the end of the day, like Coco was the better player, like zero doubt about that. So yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the first point in the 5-3 game when Coco was serving for the second set? They had a forehand to forehand rally, and Goff just hit a winner down the line.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
like I don't think anyone thought that was going to happen against
Yeah.
Sabalenka's forehand.
Sure.
Yeah, that was amazing. I mean, I think she's the best defender on tour right now. She's so fast. Some of
Yeah.
those hits are crazy. I mean, Sabalenka was putting like overheads into the net and like early in the first set because the defense was like already
Yeah.
having an impact. Um, and then yeah, the way she sort of like took over down the stretch was that was pretty special.
Yeah. So I actually checked. You were on the last podcast. You had picked Sabalenka to win against Iga Swiatek in an epic final. But I'm pretty sure you said like at some point I'm gonna have to go back and check in again that you thought maybe this is Coco's time. Um, I remember something around those lines. I'm not sure if it was recorded, but I do remember you saying something like that. But like
Uh,
as she was going through the draw, I thought not to go into like a super deep, lengthy U.S. Open final review, but like as in like U.S. Open tournament review. But um, as she was going through, I was like, well, I have seen this before. Like she has played a Grand Slam final before. She is not unheard of that Coco would go deep in a Grand Slam draw, but she definitely looked different. I guess it's always hard to say in hindsight, but I had the feeling that she believed that she could be the champion. She was really taking it one match at a time. Um, when she was going in against Sabalenka, I thought, well, it's good that she believes, but I don't. But like, I guess she had a very sweet message about those people who didn't believe in her at the end.
yeah, that's nice.
Although I'm not included in that because I always thought that she had the potential to do this people, but I just didn't believe it was now. I thought it was gonna take like another season for it to happen. But yeah, man, impressive.
Yeah, the speed of the progress was pretty amazing this
Yeah.
summer. I mean, so she like, and I did have her as a contender before the tournament started, but I had her below Iga, Sabalenka, and Rybakina, and maybe even below on Shibber as well. But in the middle of her match against Caroline Wozniacki, I sort of had a moment where, she was down a break at the very start of the third set of that match. Um, I think Wozniacki was serving like 1-0, 30-15, and Brad Gilbert is like, put some more air under your shots. And she just comes out with like these back to back, like flat, risky cross court backhand winners. Um, and I realized like during that stretch that like I just thought she was going to win. Like I didn't really have like that match, not that tournament. I didn't
Yeah.
really have an explanation for it, but like, you had Wozniacki defending so well, playing really well, was up a break in the third, and I still just thought Goff was going to win. Um, and when she came through that match, I was like, okay, yeah, she's a contender, still a contender. Then but Iga lost. I'm like, okay, draws a
That opens up a lot. Yeah.
um, and then when she just demolished Ostapenko, it's like, okay, like now it could definitely be happening. Um, but then the semi wasn't like her best match, and the first set of the final was tough too. She was really, really being overpowered. And wasn't she? She was down break points at the start of the second set too, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think she had to fend off like a double break. I think she was 15-40 down or something like that.
Yeah.
Some
Um,
something along those lines. But it wasn't the best start either. But it started to change a little bit towards the first set. But I thought it's probably not going to be enough. I think Sabalenka is going to be able to hold her serve at the very least, which also didn't happen. Um, what happened? Like I felt like the semifinal was her most difficult match. I found well, not obviously like she was down a break against Wozniacki, but of the second week, I thought like the semifinal was so nervy. Like Mukova was extremely tense, and so was Gauff. I think like the thought of like reaching the final, and maybe it took her losing the first set for her to like maybe wake up, or just like letting it rip and just kind of like focus on what's happening now. Like maybe she was thinking too hard about like her opponent and just the how tough it would be. I think Coco has been Sabalenka maybe at least once before. I'm not sure how it was her head to head, but
yeah, I think this is
yeah,
the fourth time she's beaten her. Actually.
So yeah, I wasn't. It wasn't a matchup that I would say, oh, she has absolutely no chance. Like, but I thought like the occasion was going to be too much for her to handle. Whereas I thought Sabalenka was going to be like right on it like from the start, and she was. But then things changed so quickly. I couldn't even believe how impressive, like how mature, I guess, like as a big match player Coco was at that time. I was like, man, that's impressive. The fact that she's able to like go into absolute lockdown mode, like just loop in some forehands, which weren't aggressive most of the time, but then just wouldn't just spray errors all the time, which is a great start. Like, I mean, if you don't always have to be hitting winners off the all the time. Like if you can find a game plan that works in that way, just do it. Like Djokovic does that all the time. Like, why not? It works. Yeah. She won the tournament, so yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that third set, I don't think she made an unforced error until like the fifth or sixth game of that third set. Like there was a stat at one point where it was like unforced errors in the third set, and it was like a 9 Gauff 0.
It was like, I think it was like at some point it was like 14-2.
I think that says it all. Like I mean, we say a lot Sabalenka can like hit through anyone, and she's proven that like she can hit through like pretty much anyone. Like she can hit through Iga Swiatek. She's another great defender, but I don't think she can hit through Coco Gauff.
Yeah.
What we saw. I mean, some of those gets were crazy. Even when Sabalenka was like winning the point, like, the rallies where it's like the defender makes enough gets that you're just like, okay, the attacker is going to miss. Like, and because like, there were a few points where I thought that and Sabalenka would still like put it away, but I think there were enough that it was just like, she knew she had to hit a tiny target. I think that something maybe Sabalenka could have done a little more, and she did do it a bit more towards the end of the match, like when she got that break back, one of the breaks back in the third set. I think you have to hit behind Coco more, because I think when she gets running back and forth, she's just too fast, and it's too hard to hit a winner. So I think you have to wrong foot her a little more. But man, some of those retrievals were just insane.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good moment for Sabalenka. Like obviously now she's number one, so I actually even wrote a tweet that like, I mean, if there is a season that she could be like, yeah, okay, I guess I lost it, but I'll come back. It's like she already won Australian Open, became number one, reached at least semifinals in every single one of the Grand Slams. Like, is she gonna be waking up tomorrow sad that she didn't win it? But like, I think she's gonna look at some other things and be like, I guess I can leap with that. I mean, at least for now, like, and then coming back next year. But there's so much for her to learn from this match, because a player like this, like Coco, and now that Coco has won the title, she's just going to run into her a lot more. Like it's not something that she's gonna be like, oh, okay, like she came in like as a number 80 in the world. We can kind of consider how I want to slam wonder, and maybe I'll never have to see her again. But like this is yeah. And she's a top 10 player. Even if she didn't win, she was always going to be coming back for this. So it's definitely a point in her career that she gets to be like, okay, how do I beat this kind of player? Like when, and it's like you could make the case that maybe Swiatek was somewhat similar, but she could still like find those weaknesses in Swiatek that maybe aren't there in Coco, in Coco's game. And I do feel like she kind of failed to try to find more solutions. I feel like she just maybe started to keep pushing really hard in the same game plan, it didn't work. I mean, it's like in the heat of the moment and things like that, but I think it's going to be a really important point in the future to try and throw in some more slices, like maybe some more drop shots, like just try to mix it up a bit, even moonballing more. Something's got to give. Like if just hitting as hard as you can doesn't hit a winner, something has to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, first of all, you said Gauff's like a top 10 player. I think she's 6 right now. I think she's going to be 3 soon. So she's on that top tier now. And yeah, about Sabalenka, I think it's interesting. So if someone asks me about her year, the first thing I'm going to say is Australian Open champion, right? Her year. And then the second thing you say is world number 1. Her year unequivocally has been a success. But at the same time, it's been a long time since that Australian Open now. She's had 3 majors in a row where in a late match, semifinal, final, she couldn't close. And now those are going to be fresher in her mind than that Australian Open, right? And, you know, sometimes we see with players like they win a major and the nerves just kind of go away. That hasn't happened with Sabalenka. She still has those issues. And so I'm interested to see what the next move for her is. I agree with you tactically. I think she's got underrated defense. So maybe you don't really want to get into like a scrap with Gauff, but I think like lengthening rallies at least until like she found the accuracy with her forehand again could have been smart because her forehand went off the boil. She's got a good drop shot. Maybe use that a little more. I was going to say cert and volley, but that's it's a losing play if you don't really have like Carlos Alcaraz touch at this point. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think, like you said, I think there's like a lot for her to learn still, which I think you can take as a compliment because she's so damn good already. But yeah, I think it's been a really good year for her, but also there's been a lot of pain. So I'm interested to see what comes next.
Yeah. I think one of the good things that tennis does offer, I think, is the fact that the Grand Slam is not the end of the season. So it's like there's still some stuff to do. So for players is good, and there's the good and the bad. The bad, obviously, it's too many matches. Like people are just like absolutely exhausted at this point. But at the same time, like there's more opportunities if you can stay fresh or just take a bit off and just come back for the next big title or next big tournament and try to win it, try to like apply some new things. And she will have at the very least like the WTA finals that she can try to, you know, like make a big case that like if she is able to end the year as world number 1, like I think it's always very good to like end the year with that title. I think it's good confidence for the next year, it's good confidence for herself to say like, well, especially now that she's become number 1 without winning the title. It's just like, okay, no, I really do deserve this. I am really that good. I'm really a top player, and people have to beat me now. It's like it has to be okay with having a target on her back at that point. So it's kind of like Swiatek was, and it started like wobbling a bit, but then she kind of came through a lot better than a lot of people thought it would happen. So yeah, I think it's shaping up to be a really good end of the season. Seeing like what happens, who's gonna try to like, you know, put themselves like in the pole position to, you know, getting ahead of like the off season and back in the Australian Open in January. So
yeah, I think the WTA finals is a great opportunity for a lot of players because last year that was kind of what kicked off Sabalenka's run, right? Like she beat Iga there 6-1 in the third, I think. And I think that was very much a confidence booster going into 2023. Like I'm not sure if without that match, like she wins the Australian Open. And now it's almost like the roles are reversed, right? Like I feel like maybe Swiatek could like use the WTA finals to remind everyone like, hey, I'm still here. Like I'm still like I held number 1 for like 75 weeks and like I'm going to be right back at the top at like 2024. If Gauff could win it, she could be number 1 soon, right? She's at 3. Sabalenka isn't in the lead by very much. And I think that, I mean, we've talked about why she's vulnerable. I think the tour is really, really strong right now. Like there are like 5 or 6 or 7 players at the top who like, I mean, even Pegula, like she figures out that quarterfinal thing. Like she can take out much anyone. Like Jabeur, I think when she's healthy can beat anyone. Rybakina, once she recovers physically, like it's really, really fun at the top right now.
Yeah, it's a really interesting tail end of the season now, especially. I think Goff just made it everything even more interesting, just like asserting herself as like one of the top contenders for every title, essentially at this point.
Yeah.
So it just adds more like, fire, gas to the fire. I think it's just everything just looking really, really good for the WTA right now. They have to take that opportunity because man, it's the narrative is just they're just writing themselves at this point. It's just there's just so much goodness right now, and yeah, just excited to see how the race goes for number one and for the last few titles of the season.
Yeah, me too. And in terms of the WTA taking advantage of this, like announcing the location for your year-end finals, like a month or two before it happens, is not what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
like let's
it's been a tough
like
season for the WTA in that regard, but
yeah,
we'll take the positives and try to boost on those, try to bet on those, like see how we can make things, mitigate all of the problems that you've had so far, and just try to, just pump up the marketing on this point right now. There's like start off like right away. Like this is, I think it would be a really good opportunity for them to, use this moment, especially with an American champion. Like America is a really big sports consumer, so I think it could it could help them out on that regard. So
yeah, and I think like so I'm pulling up the rankings. I think that these WTA finals could be like the best field in a while, or like the most exciting field in a while. Like okay, so let's see rankings. You have I'm gonna start with Sabalenka because she's not one right now, but she will be soon. So you have Sabalenka, Swiatek, Pegula, Rybakina, Jabeur, Gauff, Garcia, Sakkari. Maybe there's like a bit of a drop off in like 7 and 8 there, but like that top 6, holy crap. And then like I think in a lot of ways, like the WTA is more exciting than the ATP right now. Yeah. Like when Medvedev was beating Alcaraz, I tweeted something like, it would be really good for tennis if Medvedev wins this, because then you have like essentially a big 3 instead of a big 2. And I got like 1,200 likes or something because like all the ATP had going for it this tournament was like the promise of a Djokovic Alcaraz match, and then you had Ben Shelton. That was like basically all that happened in the ATP, right? Like, can you think of any other exciting storylines before Medvedev won last night?
No, not really. The only thing that they had going for themselves was just like Instagrammable moments and TikTok moments with like the phone like hanging out from Djokovic.
Yeah.
That was it, and it's like not tennis related. It's like it's pettiness related, like drama related, just fun. But it's in like as I wrote as well, like in an article that I put, it's like this is cool and take advantage of that. This was really fun. But the tennis was kind of tough. When I looked at the draw for Djokovic, and then at some point it just fell apart, and I just saw like, well, we have 3 Americans in the quarterfinals on the bottom side. The bad news is that the other quarterfinalist is Djokovic. So I mean,
I mean, I was trying to think of other like exciting moments on the men's side. I mean, I guess when Jarry went up 2 sets on Djokovic, everyone was excited for like a minute.
Yeah. It's so hard though, because Jerry goes up 2 sets and it's like, wow, when can we go back and see that this happened before? Exactly. Okay, Djokovic just won all of those times. It's like
right. Yeah, and like even the stacked half of the draw wasn't. I mean, he had Sinner Zverev, but like because of Zverev, I think that was tough to enjoy. So like he didn't get the Alcaraz Sinner match. Yeah, I think besides Alcaraz Medvedev and like the Ben Shelton run, there was like you had nothing going on the men's side. Women's side, you had Ostapenko taking out Swiatek.
Caroline Wozniacki come back, really.
Yeah, like holy crap. She's like, this is a new comeback, and she gets to the 4th round and ended up a break in the 3rd set against the woman who ended up winning the tournament. Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, I think you just had much more going on the women's side. Like you had Jabeur trying to, getting pretty deep in the draw despite being like visibly not well. Yeah, I think you had the battle for number 1 between Sabalenka and Swiatek, and I think the men's side, it's just like it's so top heavy right now. You have Djokovic and Alcaraz, and now you have Medvedev on hard courts too. Everyone else is so far behind, man. Like everyone's like getting excited about Taylor Fritz because he wins 4 matches really easily. Like, he can't scratch Djokovic. Tsitsipas, I don't even know what his problem is at the U.S. Open. Sinner's still not quite there in 5-setters. Like, there's a massive gap there, and the women, I think that top level is like twice as big right now.
Yeah, and it's funny how, like you mentioned, the race for number 1, which technically existed in the men's side, but like Djokovic just needed to win 1 match, so even that was like just completely boring because like you knew it was gonna happen. Like, there is a 1 in maybe like 10,000 chance that Djokovic is gonna lose his first round match.
Yeah.
When was the last time this even happened? Like, if that has even ever happened, like, I mean, I'm not sure. But...
Right. And I think, like, and Djokovic has been number 1 for so long that it's like, I think the women's side, it was also compelling because Sabalenka had never been number 1 before.
Yeah.
And Iga had, like, held it for so long at once that, like, it's like, how long can she hold on to it, you know? But, like, Djokovic has had so many stints there. He's already been number 1 for longer than anyone else. So it's just like, when I see that Djokovic is number 1 again, I'm like, okay, this just doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah, it's almost like, oh, he's back in the top 10. It sounds like that at this point. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I also just kind of going a little bit into a preview of tomorrow, like just talking about Medvedev. Like, I feel like it's so good that he's playing well again, because, man, like, he was the one guy who was the disruptor in a good way for like most of 2020, 2019, even 2021. And then he had all his problems. There was also the political issues that he couldn't play Wimbledon and whatnot. And then he just kind of fell away. Like, I think he left the top 10 like at the beginning of this year, and then he got back into it after like his like 5 title run, 5 finals run. He was like, oh, good, Medvedev's back. But then Alcaraz reasonably put him back in his place in a way. Just, oh, okay, so we are still sort of just talking about Djokovic and Alcaraz. Medvedev is a good third, no. So it's like, but now he's like, okay, this guy is also back. Like, he's coming back to claim his hardcourt specialist title, and he's not joking about it. And I think it's really fun to see Medvedev playing well again. It's good to see that he's playing Djokovic in a final again. I particularly think that it's not going to be very close tomorrow. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe I'm not exactly like that sold into Medvedev being a great player all of a sudden again. So I feel like I'm just being overly cautious about it. I would say maybe Djokovic in 4, but it's like, I really want to believe in an epic final tomorrow. I really do. And I think I would also be really happy if Medvedev do win the title, because I think it would be just very interesting for the whole ATP scenario, end of the year, and 3-way rivalry is going to be really cool.
I mean, that'd be a hell of a statement, right? Like, everyone has been talking about Alcaraz and Djokovic nonstop since the French Open, and then you beat them both. Like, that'd be pretty special.
It would be.
And I see what you're saying about, like, you're not convinced it's going to be an epic final. I think, like, it's just hard to play as well as Medvedev did 2 matches in a row.
Yeah.
And, like, look, there's, like, a bit of a debate going around on Twitter of, like, is that the best he's ever played? Or, like, was the U.S. Open final 2 years ago better? Like, guys, this was so much better. Like, the U.S. Open final 2 years ago, Djokovic is fried. Medvedev has a great serving day, and he doesn't have to do that much else, right? This, like, he's winning forehand-to-forehand exchanges with Carlos Alcaraz. This matchup was death for him. He was completely uncompetitive at Wimbledon, completely uncompetitive at Indian Wells. Before that U.S. Open, like, Medvedev had matched up well with Djokovic before. Like, I know he got crushed at the Australian Open, but like, he had played him tough before that, and he played badly at the Australian Open that year. Like, with Alcaraz, it just seemed like nothing he did was going to matter, and he came out with like that was really, really special performance. Like, the angles he was finding on the return, people, like, he had heard nothing but like move up on the return for like 2 years. And instead he stays back there and just finds like the most beautiful angles on the return you've ever seen. Like, no, that was the best match of Medvedev's career as far as I'm concerned. And like, I think he can win the final. Like, he matches up well with Djokovic. Djokovic hasn't been tested. I mean, I think if Medvedev plays that well again, he's going to win. Djokovic doesn't like the U.S. Open, so
Yeah. Yeah. Could you imagine, like, if this is Djokovic? I would just stumble upon this stat, like watching the preview, I think, or maybe somebody tweeted that, and I think this is Djokovic's 10th final at the
yeah,
U.S.
he's
Open.
only won 3 of them. If he
That's
loses,
insane.
yeah, like even if he wins this one, he's only got a 40% success rate in the finals.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah.
And it's funny, like you look at his opponents, and it's like 1 loss to Federer, 2 to Nadal, and so you're like, okay, but then you have Wawrinka, Medvedev, Murray, yeah, and that's all of them. Yeah, and like at least a couple of those he really should have won. I do think Djokovic is like a slight favorite. I feel like it's kind of like the French Open, where like a lot of people favored Alcaraz to win that semi, and Djokovic sort of just showed up and played like amazing tennis.
Yeah.
And I kind of get the sense that a similar thing is going to happen, but like Medvedev's a really hard guy to like beat easily.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a war.
I do. Sorry?
You want to pick?
Oh yeah, I already said it. I think it's gonna be Djokovic in 4. I think Djokovic. I think it's his time again in New York. Every so often,
Yeah.
every full solar eclipse, Djokovic comes in and wins New York again. But I think in terms of like just try to be very reasonable in terms of like looking at how the semis went by. I think that was best case scenario for Medvedev, playing as well as he did, getting out of the court in like about like 3 hours. I think that was after in 4 sets, after a horrible situation in the quarterfinals against Rublev. People just like kept thinking like, is his body going to hold? Is it, how much of an effect did it have? And I think this one proved that Medvedev's still extremely fit. And I think he was saying like, oh, I think experts like either vomited or like felt like really bad. He goes like, great, or something like that in an interview. So just sort of like how he said the thing about like about Rublev and the Australian Open after the like 80 shot rally or something that Rublev won, but then lost the match because of that. And
I was about to bring up that tournament because I remember adamantly saying to you and Bonch on this podcast that it's going to be
Djokovic,
in the final. And back then I was wearing the Medvedev glasses. You know, it was I loved that, man. But I think the hype has worn off for me. Enough has happened in the last 2 years where I'm like, okay, he's got some work to do, and so I do want to pick him. Like, I think if he wins, it would be really, really, really special. It'd be amazing. But I think it's just too hard to play like that well for 2 matches in a row. I think there's a chance that Djokovic comes out and just like, and look, he didn't have to do anything special against Shelton. He didn't like, I don't think he played risky tennis for like 1 point of that match. He's like hitting everything down the middle. I guess he had some net approaches in the 3rd set. So I think like the step up in opposition is going to be much more dramatic for Djokovic than it is for Medvedev. That's something Medvedev has. I think this is really hard. I'm going to say Djokovic in 5.
5? Yeah. I'd be down for a 5-setter. Like seriously, even it's always good. I think if Medvedev wins, I think it's going to be in 5. But I think Djokovic is going to, unless the crowd is really not on his side, which he has proven to, be able to control, but it's always a little tougher. I think the 3rd set against Shelton only got as close as it got because of the crowd. But like, if something happens, it's always cool to see those guys playing together. I feel like it's gonna be hopefully it's going to be a good match no matter what. But my pick is Djokovic in 4. There's going to be a tiebreak in the middle. I'd say Medvedev takes the 3rd set 6-1 and loses like the 4th set.
All right. Like a 2011 Wimbledon final thing.
Basically,
You 6-1, 1-6 in there.
Yeah.
I think if anyone listening to this isn't like familiar with like the Djokovic Medvedev rivalry, go watch their match at the ATP Cup 3 years ago. Good highlights on YouTube. That is one of the best matches I've ever seen. I think that was the best match of 2020. The way they move and the way they defend. There's like a point in the middle of the second set where Medvedev just like runs Djokovic back and forth for like 30 shots. And at the end, he just wins it with like this no pace backhand winner into the open court because Djokovic is dead. And Djokovic is like hunched over for, like 10 seconds after that point. It's amazing. I hope we see some of that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be one of those matches where like at the start, the quality is like terrible. And then it just slowly gets better and better. And then towards the end, everyone's going to be like, is this the best match of the year? And it's like, no, you idiot. Remember the first set. But I do think it's going to build. And I think the moment that decided the match is going to come late. I think like usually when these two have played in majors, it's come early. Like you had straight sets in the U.S. Open final in 2021, straight sets in the Australian Open final same year. I think maybe there'll be like a third set tiebreak or something like that, and then the winner of that is going to kind of pull away. But yeah. I don't know. I think it's very hard to pick.
Yeah. And just to finalize, and I think I forgot to ask you that, but after the first set for Coco Gauff Sabalenka, did you think that Gauff was going to do it? Because you asked me this question. I don't think I threw it back to you.
No. So I said before the match, it's either going to be Sabalenka in 2 or Gauff in 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I got that right.
Yeah.
When Gauff served out that, I think after the first game of the third set, I was like, okay, like Gauff has this. But no, after the first set, I thought Sabalenka was too good. I mean, I was saying to you on the space in the middle of the second set, Sabalenka was like an unmovable object, or like
you did say that.
So yeah, I didn't see it coming. I think defense wins titles, like you can defend that well over that long a period of time. Like psychologically, it's hard to deal with. And I think Gauff, that forehand isn't like, it's not a great forehand, but she's become great at protecting it, and even attacking with it when she can. So, I'm all the congrats to her. I'm really, really impressed.
Yeah, same here. And as we said before, we're really excited for the rest of the season. And as you also were discussing just now, we are excited for tomorrow's match. Yeah. Hopefully I'll be able to upload this podcast very early this Saturday. So we'll see about that. But yeah, good quick call in the middle of the finals weekend. But yeah, see you next week for the full recap of the tournament.